SCL Group and its Cambridge Analytica consultancy, right at the heart of this Facebook privacy scandal. They have actually applied, essentially, for insolvency proceedings in the United Kingdom. Effectively, that means they are closing. Now, all American offices are closed. Workers have been asked to return their key cards immediately, and we'll be going through that in just a moment. For now, though, let's go live to Washington, D.C., where Daniel Rangers has been covering this story for us. Daniel, what's the latest on your side of the pond?
Both the Cambridge Analytica operations in the United States and the UK have effectively, as you say, folded. This news has come just in the last half hour or so. It was from a conference call with the person who was touted to become the company's next chief executive after Alexander Nix effectively was suspended from that job, a very controversial figure who was the subject of undercover filming in the UK, which exposed some very underhand tactics that he was boasting about in order to try to win new business.
Indeed. So it does seem here, just looking at the statement that's come out here, I'm going to read part of it for our viewers. Despite CA's Cambridge Analytica's unwavering confidence that its employees acted ethically and lawfully, the siege of coverage has driven away virtually all of the company's customers and suppliers. As a result, it's been determined it's no longer viable to continue operating the business, which left CA with no realistic alternative to placing the company into administration. So no business effectively on both sides of the Atlantic here.
It's an absolutely politically toxic mix because basically Cambridge Analytica's business model was to operate behind the scenes, to really ferry out data from companies like Facebook. They, as you know, managed to hoover up 87 million accounts, the majority of those used to target swing voters in the United States to favor Donald Trump and to disparage Hillary Clinton. And as you also know, there are investigations ongoing in Kenya and Nigeria about Cambridge Analytica's activities there. So essentially the business model was to stay under the radar and use the tools of technology to try to manipulate voters. But when that cover was blown by media outlets here in the United States and in the UK, essentially the whole business model has imploded.
Indeed. One last question for you, Daniel. Let me put my business hat on for a moment here. CA's tools and techniques surely will find a buyer at some point, regardless of how toxic the brand is at the moment. Is there any potential buyer who might look at the company, its assets, its people, its techniques and say, yeah, this is actually worth buying?
There's no brand value left in Cambridge Analytica, but there is clearly value in the techniques and the manpower that has been gathered over the past couple of years that has proven essentially very effective in terms of the strategies used. There is debate about how effective that has been and how easy it is to manipulate voters. But essentially, when it comes to modern technology and the political scene, you always have to be 2 or 3 steps ahead. So the techniques used in 2016 during the presidential elections and the techniques used in Kenya and Nigeria and other places will now be superseded by new methods. But there will be individuals within those companies who will be able to sell those services elsewhere under different brand names.
Indeed, we'll leave it there for the time being. That's Daniel Rangers there live, of course, in Washington, D.C. I should point out Cambridge Analytica has actually put out a statement explaining the preparations here, essentially, for bankruptcy proceedings on both sides of the Atlantic. Part of the statement reads thus, basically defending themselves on the actions that led to their closure. They say they had appointed a Queen's Counsel, essentially a lawyer on the other side of the world in the United Kingdom, Julian Mallions, to conduct an independent investigation. And that person's report, which they've posted on their website at the moment, they say that those allegations were, quote, not borne out by the facts. Expect coverage on that particular developing story right here on the channel.